Hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is, whatever time it is where you're watching. If you're watching this on the replay, hi, thanks for checking it out. Why don't you let me know in the comments where you are and when you're watching? And hello to my viewers that are already on watching live. You guys are keen. Great to see you here first thing this morning. First thing, it's 9 o'clock. Been up for a couple of hours already. Anyway, this is my series all about cognitive biases. Cognitive biases, morning Elizabeth. Cognitive biases are simply shortcuts that we take on a subconscious level without even realizing it to make it quicker and easier for us to make decisions. Doesn't necessarily mean that we make better decisions though, because these are very much driven by kind of our base instincts. And the world in which we live now, our culture and our technology have advanced hugely. We haven't quite caught up with that in terms of how we think by default. So this series is all about exploring those different biases that we have in place, understanding them better so that we can control for them, so that we can allow for them and make different decisions. Apologies for the dreadful lighting today. My lamp in my good quality light just blew this morning. So yeah, we've got this one instead. Right, let's crack on. So today, what am I talking about today? Focalism. Focalism. So this is also known as anchoring bias or simply anchoring, but the term anchoring is used in lots of different ways in the work that I do. So I'm going to use the word focalism instead because that just keeps it clear. Morning, Ali. It is early for you, isn't it? Bless you. Being up at 9 o'clock to catch me. Hope you're all well. Anyway, focalism, what is it? So let's imagine that you're going to go and buy a car. You're going to go and buy a car. You do some research. Maybe you do some research before and find out what the average price is. And then you go to a garage and they are offering the same car for a couple of £100 less. You go, brilliant. That's less than the average price. I'll get that one. Across the road, there could be a garage that's selling the same car for a few hundred less than that even. And you kick yourself and think, oh, why didn't I shop around? What is it that made you make that snap decision to go for that first option? What happened there is that you decided, or you researched and you found this number, which is the average price. That's the first piece of information. And so with that piece of information in mind, you've then seen this car that's a couple £100 cheaper and gone, brilliant, that's great. So that encourages you to snap up that deal because you're focused very much on that first piece of information, that initial figure. That's a really obvious example of how it happens, but it happens in lots of different ways as well. And it's not just with price. Numbers are a really easy and quantifiable way to notice it. So an experiment was carried out where they got people to spin a wheel to choose a random number. And then completely unrelated to that, they were asked after they span their number to guess or to estimate how many African countries were in the EU. I think it was something like that. I should do my research before I start these videos, right? But yeah, they were asked to guess a number of African countries involved in something. Anyway, they did this, and they anyone who spun a lower number had a tendency to guess a lower amount. Anyone who spun a higher number on that wheel, and bear in mind this wheel is completely irrelevant to the question that they're being asked, were more likely to go higher. But it's not just numbers and figures where we make these assumptions and where we make these mistakes. You can use it to your advantage. Let's keep talking about numbers for a bit longer. So let's imagine you want to go for a pay rise at work. If you go to your boss and you say, hey boss, I'm interested in a pay rise, and you let your boss put the number forward first, chances are that's going to be lower than the number you were hoping for anyway, right? So that's now created the anchor. That's the first piece of information. That's the bit of information that everything else from now is going to compare to. If you go in and you make the first call and you give your number, then everything else is being negotiated around that number. So that becomes the anchor point, or the focalism. So with that being the focal point, you're more likely to then end up with a number closer to that figure, and vice versa. But as I say, it's not just numbers. When you look at it, there's lots of other ways that this can impact you, in terms of your belief, in terms of the way that you grow up, what you consider to be right and wrong. So, for example, what would be a good example of this? What age is it acceptable for your child to start dating? So if you had kids and your kids are growing up, at what age would it be acceptable for you to let them start dating? Let me know in the comments what you think. Now, there is obviously no right or wrong answer to this, and it's very much down to the individual. But when we stop and think about what informs that decision, so no one's actually put anything in the comments. Let's just, oh, there we go. Never. Excellent, Elia. Great shout. Yep, your kids are never allowed to date. But realistically, when would they? When would they be allowed? 25. Brilliant. Cool. Yep, getting all the serious answers in. So let's imagine that one person said 16. 16 seems like a reasonable age to date. Let's imagine that a 14-year-old decides that they want to start dating. This is a weird example for me to have chosen. I don't know why I did. Anyway, let's say the 14-year-old Elizabeth says, just don't ask for permission. That's fine. Brilliant. So a 14-year-old goes to his parents and says, or her parents, I want to go out on a date this weekend. And the parent goes, what? No, that's ridiculous. You're only 14. That's way too early. I didn't start dating until I was 16. Alison, there we go. Alison's saying 14 is acceptable. So obviously just shift this down a couple of years for it to make sense for your personal opinion on it. So the parent there is enacting focalism bias, because in their opinion it's 16. That could be because that's how they were brought up. Their parents led them to believe that 16 is an acceptable age. Could be that that's when they had their first date, or when they remember having had their first date. Or it could just be that they did start dating when they were 14 and had a terrible time of it and it went horribly wrong. But for whatever reason, 16 is the number in their mind. So that's their focal point. 14 is the age of the child at the moment. So that's the age that the child is focusing on and thinking about, and saying, all my friends do it at 14. So entering into that conversation, they've both already got their own opinion, their own focus, their own anchoring point, and a figure to start from. And like I said, it goes way beyond numbers and figures as well. Yeah. So it could be how much TV it's okay to watch. If you grew up not watching any TV, constantly being out on your bike with your mates or helping around the house or whatever, then that will be your focal point. That will be your anchor as to what you would expect is acceptable for other people to be doing. So you're more likely to bring your kids up to not have so much time in front of the TV, compared to others who, if they grew up, say, sat in front of the TV for longer, they're more likely to allow their kids to do the same. So it can impact in lots of different ways. Ultimately, the thing to watch out for here, and the way to use it to your advantage, is firstly, in any kind of negotiation, don't be afraid to put your figure forward first. Now, that does depend slightly on the actual circumstance, situation, and what you're negotiating on. I'm not saying carte blanche that that's the right approach to any negotiation, but don't be afraid to put your number forward first, or an inflated version of it, so that you've got an anchoring point to start with that's more likely to be in your favor. Just don't underestimate what you're worth, or what number you should be giving at that point. Other ways to watch out for it is, particularly when buying something new, just because it was $9.99 and it's now only $7.99 or whatever it might be. Actually, the reason that companies do that, the reason that you'll see, was this price, now this price, is because by seeing that it was that price before, that's now your anchor. You're now going, that's what it's worth. So when you see the lower price, which is what you can get it for, you go, oh, Well, that's brilliant. I'm saving this much money. But you're not saving that much money if you weren't going to be spending that much money to begin with anyway. So it's easy to trip ourselves up on these things. So yeah, basically be aware of it. Look out for holding too much priority and focus on that first bit of information that you hear and then tailoring your decision to suit that. If you're making big decisions, especially if it's purchasing decisions, remind yourself to step away from the situation first and reanalyze before you make a full decision or choice. I think that pretty much covers it. A nice simple one for this morning, which Ali will appreciate, seeing as she's up so early. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. And while I wait for those comments to pop up, I'm just going to use the opportunity to cheeky plug Relax Club. So Relax Club last night was brilliant. Well, I really enjoyed it, but then I would say that. Got some great feedback from it as well. Basically, Relax Club is there to create a foundation, a positive foundation to help you be proactive in looking after your mental health and emotional well-being. There's loads of different tracks that are available, including live hypnosis sessions that go out every week, which are then available to watch back anytime you choose, pre-recorded tracks, morning meditation to help you get into the right mindset, and all sorts of other things. So check out relaxclub.online to find out more. There it is. There it is again. Excellent. Oh, good morning, Thomas. Elizabeth, thank you. I'm glad you loved Relax Club last night. I've got some big plans for it as well. It's going to be getting bigger and better and even more awesome soon. I've been talking to a few people and I've got some things already in the pipeline and some more big ideas to come. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be involved in Relax Club. Cool. Thank you, everyone, very much. It looks like there's no questions coming in. You're very welcome, Adele. I hope this one's been helpful. And if you haven't seen any of my others, now might be a good time. The easiest way was probably to head to YouTube and search for Mind Affinity. Hopefully you'll find me. If not, I'll pop the link in the comments anyway. Yeah, search for Mind Affinity on YouTube and you'll be able to see my original introduction video that explains in a bit more depth what these videos are all about and why they're helpful, and then a load of different cognitive biases. No, Kerry, I'm not going to call you now. I'm going to call you later when I'm in the car because I've got so much on today that calling you when I'm in the car makes much better use of my time. I hope that's okay. I'll message you anyway. Okay, thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you all this time next week. Bye.